This is Artful Discourse, your weekly escape into the vibrant world of creativity, culture, and intellectual exploration. I'm your host, Benjamin Kirk, and I invite you to join me on a journey through the rich tapestry of human thought and the beating heart of artistic expression at Fresno State's College of Arts and Humanities. It's an exciting time at Fresno State. Commencement season is commencement's under a week away, and for the last several weeks, we've been talking to our students of distinction and our Dean's Medalist. And now it's time for all of our students to walk across the stage, turn their tassels, and move on to the next phase of their lives, whether that be continuing their education or heading out to the job market. We will be looking forward to the positive contributions our graduates will make on the community and the world beyond. Now, the College of Arts and Humanities commencement is at 1 p.m. Friday, May 17th at the Save Mart Center. Event information, including live streams and security guidelines, can be found at commencement.fresnostate.edu. And now on to our main topic today. In 2021, the William and Flora Hewitt Foundation announced a series of grants designed to bring world-class performing arts to the communities across the San Francisco Bay Area, specifically new works in the traditional art forms and cultural practices. Fresno State communications professor Dr. Devendra Sharma received one of these grants, $150,000 to stage a Nautanki, a North India form of opera. Dr. Devendra Sharma joins us today from the Bay Area to tell us all about it. So to begin with, what is a Nautanki?
Nautanki is a North Indian opera, like we here in the United States go to, say, a big opera house, maybe in New York or San Francisco, and we watch opera from maybe Italy or from Europe, Mozart's opera or somebody else's opera. In the same way, for last around in 1,000 years in North India, we have developed this opera called Nautanki, and it is similar. Dialogues are sung, and there are dances also in between, and there are some dialogues that are spoken, but most of these dialogues are sung in an aria form, right? Characters are singing to each other. These are grand stories of big heroes, kings, sages, heroines, women, men. So these are wonderful stories that have been popular in North India, and opera Nautanki tell a story, basically. Yeah.
Now, when I talked to you a few years ago, when it was first announced that you received this grant, you talked about this traveling from town to town and kind of how that is. And the other thing I saw is it starts at around 10 o'clock at night and goes all night, right?
Mhm. Yes, and it is a full night affair, and there are many kind of stagings, as if you would like it. There are stagings in towns, then there are stagings in villages, remote villages, and these opera groups in 18th and 19th century would travel, and even today there are traveling opera groups that would go from village to village, and sometimes if villagers don't have money to pay them, if they go to say a poor village, they will say, okay, give us food and we will perform for you. So and this goes on. That starts at like around 10 p.m. in the night, and it finishes at sunrise, right? And sometimes people want to go, audiences keep on demanding more songs or more excerpts or
Mm-hmm.
more dances. And my father and I have acted in these Nautankis since I was like 5 years of age or 4 years of age. And my father is a big star, so he has been given by the President of India one of the highest awards of India. So when we talk about, like, say, English awards, they're like these sirs and all those kind of big awards. So my father has been given that kind of an award, and I have been performing. So when we were performing, sometimes in the morning, people would still be demanding, please sing more. So it is so popular. Yes.
Yeah. Now, the Hewlett Foundation named you as a seventh generation Nautanki
Yes.
performer and writer, direction, and guru. And you talked about the connection with your father.
Yes. So
Go ahead. Go
yeah.
ahead.
Yeah, we have been doing it generations for, like, Generation after generation, we have been practicing Nautanki. In the 19th century, my forefathers would have this troupe that will go to the court of a king in North India and would spend time like 3 or 4 months performing different operas in the king's court. And then they will also be invited by other town people, business people. So we have been doing, and my father, he started acting in mid 50s, like 1950s, and he soon became a huge hit. He became a star. In fact, he was invited to England by Theatre Royal to compose a music for one of the Indian English opera, because there's a lot of diaspora. Indian diaspora and Indian stories are pretty popular in England also. So he composed the music, and then BBC recorded him for a series of talk on Nautanki. So my father has been doing this from 50s. When I was 4 years old, back in late 1970s, I started to perform, and then I learned the history of my family, that it has been going on at least for 200 years, and I have lost the record before that because they were not kept. But I know that I'm at least a seventh generation. First, I used to think five, and then I found more records. So now I'm seventh, and maybe more. It was
Yeah.
going on in the family for a longer time. Yeah.
And I was going to ask if you knew how your family became performers, but
Yes. Yes. So we are also farmers, like in Fresno. At Fresno State, we have this agriculture department, and
Mhm.
we have big agricultural land around us. We do farming in our village, but I think our ancestors got interested. Apart from farming, they one of our ancestors was very proficient in playing this bow instrument, and then he got interested, and then he also got his sons and grandsons into this, and slowly there was a tradition, but this was supported more by that king's court. When my forefathers were singing so nicely, I think they were awarded, and then the family really got into it. But still we do our farming. uh, we have lands in North India, like not a lot of land, but we are farmers. So, and that is one of the reasons I really like Fresno. I feel at home
Mhm.
at Fresno State, because when I go out and I see these farmlands, I remember my village.
Yeah.
So that's how we got. And then my father, would be decorated with these pearls and diamonds if he's performing in the city, and if he is playing a role of a famous warrior, right? So all these local merchants will get together, and these are rich people. So sometimes he would be adorned by millions of dollars of jewels, when he's performing, and there will be police around him when he's performing, so that nothing untoward happens. And even now, he has got these marks on his forehead, wearing diamonds, because he is performing the whole night, and there are these huge, heavy diamonds on his head, and he sometimes got hurt. But you have to perform. If you are performing a king, you have to perform. So there are so many anecdotes. People try to give him even a poison one time, right? That, so the poison for the throat, so that he loses his voice. There are all kind of rivalries and animosities in these shows. I'm sure you have learned about the Mozart's rivalry with other musicians, and they are ready to kill each other, that
Yeah.
kind of a thing. So my father was given something in a beetle leaf, and he realized in the nick of time, but he still kind of consumed a little bit. So his voice went for like 3 or 4 months, it was gone, and slowly he recovered it.
Mhm.
So it is happy, but at the same time, it was sometimes full of tensions also between different performing groups.
Mm.
Yeah. Hmm.
When this was first announced, it was announced that it was that Nantucky was going to be titled Princess Nantucky. Is that still the same?
Yes, Princess Nautanki. Yes.
Nantucky, and it was to be the largest Nantucky to perform ever be performed in the United States. Is that still the case?
Yes, that is still the case. Hewlett informs me that this is the largest grant ever given to traditional performance arts.
Mm.
And this Princess Nautanki is very special because before Nautanki, the form was called, this tradition was called swang. Like we have English song, right?
Hmm.
The swang is kind of a similar word that signifies performance, an opera. But this particular swang, this play, this particular piece of opera called Nautanki, Princess Nautanki. In Hindi, it is called Rajkumari Nautanki or Shehzadi Nautanki, but in English, it is Princess. It became so popular that the form's name, the tradition's name changed from Swang to Nautanki. Now, people, it became so popular, it became like photocopy machines are called Xerox,
Hmm.
right? Uh, and people just sometimes don't say photocopy; they say just get it Xeroxed. So it became such a brand. This particular play called Princess Nautanki became so popular among masses that the whole genre started to be called as Nautanki. And this is based on a women protagonist who is a
Hmm.
powerful, this confident princess who wants to make a choice, husband who want to choose her husband herself rather than her family choosing her husband for her,
Hmm.
right? You know, in the traditional marriage setup in India and elsewhere, you know, these arranged marriages, the family chooses somebody for you, but she refuses and she rejects many princes. But eventually, she likes a commoner, ordinary man, an ordinary young man, and falls in love with him. And her father wants to execute, like, you know, give the death penalty to her lover because he's just a commoner, right?
Right.
She fights a sword fight with her father and other people, and she saves her lover and marries him. So I think this was done in 19th century. So it, I think, captured the imagination of audiences, and so it became so popular that now we call swang as Nautanki.
Now, in our communications on email, you had mentioned that you just had a show in Piedmont, which is near
Yeah.
Oakland.
Yes.
How was that show received?
So that show was received very well, and
Yeah.
in fact, we did not do the whole opera, but we did um, some parts of the opera.
Hmm.
It was Piedmont City Festival, and some of our artists actors belong, they live in that area. So they asked me, "Can we do that?" They are inviting us, and I said, "Why not? Let's do it." So we did a combination of some scenes in which we danced. We also showed them this opera singing, and it was very well received. In fact, they want us to come back again next year.
Now, where are the next performances happening? Like the full blown. Do we have
Yes,
dates for that yet? Are there dates? Are there locations?
yes. So yes, so there are full blown performances. What we are waiting is the our some of our master artists, like
Hmm.
these. Again, there are master artists from generations. Some of them play percussion instruments. Some of them play harmonium, which is a organ, kind of a keyboard, kind of a traditional instrument, and one another percussion instrument called dholak. And these artists are again master artists, like my father. I can call myself as master artist because I have been doing it for 40 years or so. But these people I'm bringing from India, and we have applied the visa, and we are talking to American embassy. As soon as they come, we are planning in fall full blown these performances, the long 2.5 hour performance, or at least 2 hour performance, even if we have to edit a little bit. So we will perform in San Francisco, uh, on Turk Street. This is an organization called Counterpulse,
Hmm.
pretty popular, and it is kind of a offbeat, diaspora-centered organization, and it has been active since 1990s. And we are going to perform there. I have been their master artist earlier also, so I chose to perform 3 shows with them, and then we will come to the South Bay in Palo Alto. There's a theater called Kabarli Theater. and we are going to perform two shows in Kaburli Theatre, and then we are exploring some theaters in San Jose as well as in Mountain View. So if we can do that, so we are planning, and then finally, um, I'm going to talk to our music department, um, and I really have this dream of taking all these artists from the Bay Area and come to Fresno State and do a show here.
You're reading my mind. That was my next question. If this was going to come to Fresno State, because I would be really
Yes.
excited. I think our community would be really excited to see it. Yeah.
Yes, I'm very excited. I want to see my colleagues, my students, my community to see it. I mean, Bay Area is fine, but I love the Central Valley to come out and see this Indian opera, because it's not every day that Indian opera comes to the Central Valley. So it'll be lovely, lovely. Yeah.
Now you mentioned the it's a contemporary interpretation, correct? This is the traditional story, but maybe a contemporary interpretation of it,
Yes.
and it's a women centered production, protagonist, and so why is that important? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it is important because women's role, well, in India, as well as even in the United States and anywhere else, particularly in India, is changing. And when we see Central Valley, I see that also. Many first generation women students coming to Fresno State. Fresno State is known for first generation students,
Hmm.
and so women have changed, and in diaspora particularly, women have the role of women has changed. Earlier they used to marry to a person, say, living in America, and they would come with him, their husband, and would making maybe some cooking some meals for him right, or but they were not working. And um, it is very important to highlight how women's role has changed from homemaker to actually doing things outside home also, right? I mean, homemaker is important, very important, but at the same time women are coming out in India as well as in the United States. They are gaining confidence in diaspora as well as in traditional American setup, and they are doing so many things now. So I really wanted to, because the Nautanki character herself is so confident. She broke many norms
Hmm.
against her father in her kingdom, selecting her own husband. Similarly, women, maybe she was one of the protagonists, maybe she was an anomaly in 19th century. But now more and more women are coming out, and after, particularly after like Me Too movement and other movements in America, which have become worldwide now, right, impacted everywhere, women have found a different kind of a confidence, their voice. And that's why I want to bring in a character from today's time that is telling the story or retelling the story of Nautanki, Princess Nautanki in the 19th century, while finding resonances between herself and Princess Nautanki. So that's the whole idea, to compare how long journey, what a long journey women have covered.
What audience are you hoping to attract?
So I am hoping to attract different kind of audiences who are interested in a different kind of culture.
Hmm.
So this is not only about the theme, but it's also about the culture, right? They will see different kind of dresses, costumes, beautiful clothes, maybe makeup, and those kind of things, and what the traditional 19th century woman would look in India, right? Or a princess or a commoner, how they would look. So culture is important. We also have some, a lot of Hindi singing in it. So of course we will give them the translation. Audiences will have a brochure in which they will understand all the songs and they will follow the story, but they will be exposed to a different culture. Then they will be exposed to different music. So music lovers or opera lovers will find this, because we do have world music classes, but they are like just a drop in a desert, right? People want to know more
Hmm.
about. And I don't think Indian opera has been highlighted in the United States ever. I mean, we talk about Ravi Shankar, or we talk about sitar or
Hmm.
tabla, but we do not talk about Indian opera,
Yeah.
maybe classical music, but not opera. So for music lovers, for culture lovers, and for the issues, like, when we're talking about women, but women in a different culture coming here. We're talking about a story of a different culture, but that story has some resonances to American culture. So, issue wise, the content wise, also, I think it will attract audiences. So, at many levels, I'm looking for audiences.
Uh, Nautanki was popular throughout North India for centuries. It sounds like,
Yes.
and I think more recently we're familiar with Bollywood and its impact in
Yes.
first on Indian cinema, but then it's that impact has spread worldwide. I would say now.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
What is the relationship with that? Did
So,
Nantucky kind of
yeah.
like
Yeah.
was that kind of the birthplace of Bollywood?
Yes, Nautanki is mother of Bollywood. So Bollywood has copied the structure of Nautanki into its film. Many, when I came to the United States to doing my PhD, many of my friends in Ohio and in Los Angeles, where I studied, they would ask me, so why do you guys sing so many songs in your movies, right? We don't do that. I said, you used to do it in MGM musicals, right? But yeah, I mean, not in it's not a default in Hollywood. So why is default with Indian music, in Indian movies like Bollywood? It is because of Nautanki, because Nautanki has a structure of telling a story through singing, through songs, through dances, and Bollywood has copied exactly. So in 1930s, when the talkies came, when they wanted to insert music, right, in movies, in silent movies, they had no other structure to follow but Nautanki was immensely popular. In fact, many Nautanki artists migrated from Nautanki to Bollywood, right? And they were the first actors and first stars of Bollywood. And many musicians, players, and even music directors, composers, songwriters came from Nautanki to Bollywood. So Bollywood is deeply impacted. Of course, Bollywood has its own trajectory now,
Hmm.
but it was born out of Nautanki.
What do you think is the future of Nantucky? Is there room for innovation, or is it more about preserving the traditional art form at this point, or maybe a little bit of
Well,
both?
yeah, a little bit of both, but it is much more open than classical music of India, right?
Hmm.
If you change any note in a classical rag or raga, as they call it, the purists would say, no, 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 you can't change that. This is pure, this is classical. Same thing with Western classical music.
Yeah.
You cannot interfere with, say, Beethoven's symphony, right? You cannot say I'm going to change it. So in classical there is less opening to do those things, but in Nautanki, since it has been a popular form, it has changed itself over centuries, right? It has introduced new ways of writing, new ways of music, themes. In fact, it has reflected different themes. So I'll give you an example. In early 20th century, when Gandhi was, and I can see that picture of Gandhi behind you,
Yeah.
you know. So when Gandhi was fighting Indian independence kind of struggle against British, there were Nautankis written in support of Gandhi, right, and against British sometimes, even though British used to suppress them,
Hmm.
and sometimes they were arrested, these writers, but they were writing for Indian independence. Similarly, when there was this huge menace uh, of marrying underage girls to older men, right? That kind of ill practice was happening in the early 20th century. There were Nautankis written about this kind of marriages and how bad they are. So Nautanki has been with the times, and it absorbs what audiences demand. So it is like Bollywood in some
Hmm.
way. Like it is like Bollywood. So Bollywood, there are always innovations, something else is going on, but we also have to preserve its meters, poetical meters, its music, so that it has some identity, that it is Nautanki, it is not something else. Yeah.
Have you been able to tie this production of Nantucky back to your students and your teaching here at Fresno State?
Yes, so that's what I plan. I always tie because I have had these Nautanki shows from the time I have come to California. So I formed a group in which there are many American students, Americans, like not only Indian Americans but other Americans also, and there are some doctors, there are business people, there are engineers, and my students too. And we have performed in our classes. So one class I teach here is performance for social change, how we can use performing to highlight issues. So in this grad class, and there's an undergrad class also, both undergrad and grad, I have invited my American students to create performance. So sometimes they would say, do we have to do Nautanki only? I said, no, you use your form. So
Yeah.
sometimes they will use rap, sometimes hip hop, sometimes even country music, and rap battles, you name it. And then they will also be interested in some kind of like singing from Nautanki. So they will
Mhm.
say, okay, we will take these two lines from Nautanki, but we will write it in English. I said, go ahead, right? And so we have been using Nautanki in my classes at Fresno State, and not only Nautanki, but their own traditions.
It's amazing the capacity of music to really build those bridges, isn't
Yes.
it?
Yes, totally. Right. I mean, when you sing it in English, somebody asked me, is it opera? I said, it sounds like opera. I said, it sounds like opera. I said, it is opera. But since it is being sung in English, it sounds like Western opera sometimes. Yeah.
Now, is there anything I missed? Anything you'd like to add?
No, I think you covered everything. I think I just want to talk about future. Like, I have trained around 50 artists so far
Mm.
in California, and that's why Alliance for California Traditional Arts, ACTA, has designated me as a master artist of Nautanki. What I want to do is open maybe a non-profit or something that coming out of this that continues
Hmm.
this training and tradition of Nautanki. And I really love Central California because it speaks to my ethos
Hmm.
as a farmer, as a rural person, and I want to bring that organization here at Fresno and maybe carry on my work here more. I mean, of course, this grant is based in the Bay Area, but I want to do more stuff if Fresno State, and I'm sure our college will support me, and if we can do something here. Yeah.
Can you tell me one more time, or just tell the
Yeah.
audience one more time, how people can experience Princess Nantucky? Do we have? We don't quite have the dates yet, right?
Yeah, we don't have the dates, but I'm planning in fall, and I will keep you updated as
Okay.
soon as we get the visas for master artists.
Mhm.
I'm going to request, and I'm going to talk to our theater department, Melissa, about theater bookings and some collaborations. And but expect that we'll do something in the fall. Yes.
And I'm planning to hopefully
Yeah.
get up to the Bay Area to experience one of your
Yes.
rehearsals and take some pictures
Absolutely.
and maybe provide an
Absolutely.
update at that time too.
Absolutely. And
So
I can also send you, I mean, even though there are like cell phone recorded videos of the Piedmont performance, I can send you those and our rehearsals, which were recorded professionally. If I can take out some snippets out of that, I will send them to you. Yeah.
fantastic. And we'll write all this up and have it in our newsletter, which is coming out very soon. May 23rd is when our next
Oh,
newsletter is coming out, and so we will have a write up about our interview
yay.
here and what you're up to. So
I'm very happy.
thank you
Thank
very
you. Thank
much,
you, Ben.
Dr. Devendra Sharma, for joining us today. The College
Thank
of
you, Ben. I really appreciate it. And thanks for taking it for our audiences.
All right, and the College of Arts and Humanities commencement again is at 1 p.m. Friday, May 17th at the Save Mart Center. Event information, including live streams, security guidelines, can be found at commencement.fresnostate.edu. We'll see you next week for another edition of Artful Discourse. Artful Discourse is a production of the College of Arts and Humanities at California State University, Fresno. The Dean is Dr. Honora Chapman, and the Associate Dean is Dr. Sergio Laporta. This program is written, directed, and produced by me, Benjamin Kirk, the college's communication specialist. The theme song for Artful Discourse is Maiden Voyage by Fresno State music professor Benjamin Boone from his album, Joy. More information about his music can be found at benjaminboone.com. Special thanks to KFSR and FSR Underground General Manager Julie Lindahl for making this show possible. You can learn more about the College of Arts and Humanities and find an archive of our shows at our website, cah.fresnostate.edu, or on our blog, fresnostatecah.com.